All right. Now there's things that can affect our heart rate. There's a lot of things that can affect it. And one of those things are medication. So if you are taking medication, maybe for a heart condition, maybe for cholesterol, what you may notice is that your heart rate, we want to manage it. We don't want it to get quite as high. So that's something to keep in mind. And then if you're looking at ways to track your heart rate, we also want to know that devices like I'm wearing my my watch, and it does track my heart rate, but it's not always 100%. So it's just good to know that it'll give you the range, but it may not give you exact. And then I know a lot of people like to do cardio, and quite often if you're on a machine like a bike or a treadmill, you know, when you can hold on to the edge, and often it says, okay, put your hands on the sensors and it will tell you what your heart rate is. That also is not fully accurate. So it's good to know that. Probably the best way is taking your own pulse by placing your two fingers to the side of your neck. So that's probably the most accurate, but it's just good to know. It's good to get that range. All right, so we're gonna get going. And what we're going to do with the style today is we're going to really get that heart rate up, and we're going to be doing something called high intensity interval training. So I'm going to lead you guys through it. I'm going to give you options for both beginners and those more advanced. So we're going to have fun as we do it. All right. And Erin, I'm wondering if you can highlight my video. It looks like I'm not the active speaker. I still see Darlene. All right, so we're going to move away from that chair. Thank you, Erin. We're going to move away from the chair. We're going to be standing up. I'm just going to get my timer going. All right, so here we go. So we're going to start with a nice warm up, and then we're going to move into our cardio portion. So let's start by marching on the spot. We're going to bring those shoulders back, pump those arms. All right, and what we're going to do here is we want to focus on that breathing. So we're going to take those arms out to the side, breathing in and breathe out. Give yourself that hug. So breathe in, stretch, and breathe out. All right, breathing in and breathing out. I'm going to set my watch on cardio, so I'm going to let you guys know at the end what we're up to, what our stats look like. All right, awesome. So again, stretching, breathing in, breathing out. 2 more. And 1. All right, let's lift the knees a little higher. We're going to bring your hands to touch your opposite knee. So this is easier to do when your legs are a bit wider. And you may notice I have a little white furry guy beside me. This is my dog, Fit Finley. And if you've been joining us before, you've probably seen him. He usually is napping while we exercise. All right, good. So this is a really good option for those of you with a heart condition. When you're exercising with a heart condition, we want to keep our hands and lift our hands no higher than our heart. All right, now if you don't have a heart condition, you want to get that heart rate up a little bit more, you can lift the arms so we can reach a little bit higher overhead. All right, good. Awesome job. Now we're going to change it up. Let's add a front tap. We're going to be tapping the toe in front, reaching with the opposite arm. From the side, it looks like this. Really be aware of our shoulders. We want to keep those shoulders back. Really stretch and reach. All right, awesome. Now, when we're exercising, when we're getting that heart rate up, there's other ways that we can measure if we're doing enough. And one of them is the talk test. So if I'm talking to you, we're exercising, and you're finding that it's hard to carry on a conversation, then that may be a little bit too much. So we want to be able to talk. Now, and as well, I've heard there's another test called the singing test. Can you sing when you're exercising? Now, if you're not really a good singer to begin with, maybe not, but the whole idea is we want to be able to still breathe well. We still want to be able to function as we're exercising. Let's bend the knees back behind you. All right. Option 1 is hands on your hips. Keep those knees pointing towards the floor. Option 2 is to circle the shoulders back. All right, again, legs are nice and wide. All right, good. All right, let's change up those arms, reaching across the body, reaching to the side. So noticing a stretch down the side of your body. Very good, breathing in and out. Let's do 3, 2, and 1. All right, good. So we're going to go to our march. We're going to march it out, and we're going to be moving into what I was talking about earlier before called HIIT training. So high intensity interval training. What does this look like? What does this mean, Meg? So it sounds very intense. Doesn't need to be, but it's a good way to get our heart rate up. And it's also a way to really speed the workout along. Because what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be timing us for 30 seconds. So we're going to be doing a cardio exercise for 30 seconds, and we're going to get that heart rate up, and then we're going to bring our heart rate down by doing something a little less intense. All right. So all you need to do is follow along, and I'm going to keep track of our time. And I'll keep us motivated. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to speed it up. We're going to go a little bit faster, marching it out, and listen to your body. Maybe it looks like this, keeping your feet close down to the floor. Maybe it looks like adding a little bit of a jog on the spot. All right, so we're halfway there. 15 more seconds. Listen to your body. Breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And we're going to take a side step side to side, swing those arms. All right, good. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do 30 seconds, getting the heart rate up, 30 seconds of slowing it down. All right, awesome job. So we're going to go back to that march or that jog. All right, here we go. Let's go back into that position, and 30 seconds, speeding it up, speeding it up. So marching, walking, jogging, choose your option today. Breathing in and out. Ask yourself, could I still talk to Meg? Halfway there. All right, almost there. You guys are doing great. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Stepping side to side. This time, figure 8 those arms. All right, looking great. All right. Awesome job. So we're going to be moving into a different cardio move next. This one is one of my favorites. It is called the jumping jack tap. I'll demonstrate what that looks like. So we're going to be bringing those arms out to the side and tapping your leg one at a time out to the side. All right, so option 1, if you have a heart condition, reach. Otherwise, you can reach your hands overhead for more of an intense workout. All right, ready? Here we go. We're going to speed it up, listening to your body. Reaching to the side is awesome, or reach overhead, try it out. Getting that heart rate up. Good job, keep on going. Keep on breathing. 10 more seconds. All right, awesome work. Last 3, 2, 1, and again, we're gonna step side to side, figure 8 those arms. All right, awesome. So it's important to have a strong heart. It really is. And what you guys will love is in the next half of the presentation, Natasha is going to share some information about prevention, about some exercise guidelines, and a little bit more detail. And I'm imagining that we're all going to be paying a lot of attention because when you exercise, you are actually, your mental capacity improves. And there's a study that was showing that People who exercise before presentations or before important meetings were able to think more clearly, they were able to communicate more clearly, and they had more success in their meetings. All right, here we go. So we're going to go back to that jumping jack tap. And here we go. Come and join me here. So 30 seconds, reaching or arms overhead. And you can follow along at my speed, or you can go a little slower or a little faster. All right. Getting that heart rate up. Good job, good job. All right, we're almost there. 5 more seconds. 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, good. Again, stepping side to side, and reaching to the side. All right, let's take a few deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth. All right, awesome. All right, good. So we're going to change up the exercise this time. So what we'll do is we're going to do something called kickbacks. So we're going to be bending those knees, kicking back behind. So option 1 is hands on your hips. And then option 2 is reaching up overhead. All right. All right, so come and join me. Another 30 seconds. All right, awesome job. If you don't want to reach overhead, you can also reach in front. Reach towards the front of the room. All right, going at your own pace. Good. Almost there. 5 more seconds. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. Stepping side to side. Figure 8 those arms. All right, wonderful. Focus on that breathing. All right. So next I'm going to be moving into a few movements for strength. So we're going to be focusing on lower body strength, still getting that heart rate up as we're strengthening your legs. So this is what the next one we're going to do. A few options for you. Option 1, let's take those legs nice and wide. Toes are pointing out to the side of the room. Option 1 is placing your hands on your hips, and we're going to be moving into a squat. So we want to take the hips back, just like you're sitting back into a chair, then rise up. Take those hips back, keep the weight in your heels, and we're leaning forwards just slightly, but facing the front of the room or the front of the screen as we go. All right, this is option 1. Option 2, to make it a little bit more intense, is we're going to add a reach. From the side, it looks like this. Option 1 or option 2, reaching in front. All right, so let's keep going for 30 seconds. Breathing in and out. All right, looks good. Now listen to your knees. You can always go a little bit less deep into this one. Halfway there. All right, almost there. 5 more seconds. And 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, awesome. We'll take a side step, swinging those arms. All right, so just notice how you're feeling. You might be a little bit warmer than when you started. Hopefully you're feeling motivated and great. All right. Awesome job. All right, so we're going to go back to our kickbacks and then we'll do our squats a second time. So here we go, 30 seconds. So our kickback options, hands on the hips, reaching in front, or the advanced option, pressing up overhead. All right, so choose your option. Here we go. Join me now, 30 seconds. Getting our heart rate up. All right, looks good, looks good. 10 more seconds. 5 more seconds. 2, 1, and side to side, figure eight those arms. Woo, all right. Awesome work. All right. Good, all right, so moving back into our squat position again. So take those legs once again nice and wide. You've got the option to place your hands on your hips, just like you're about to sit back on the chair, take those hips back, or you can reach the arms in front. All right, so choose your option, here we go. Make sure the legs are nice and wide to accommodate for knees. Breathing in and out. All right, we all want to experience stronger legs. I know I talk to a lot of people, and this is a big goal, is how can I stay independent? How can I get outside for more walks? And one of those ways is to exercise regularly. All right, 3, 2, and 1. All right, awesome. Good, let's step side to side, swing the arms. We are going to add a bit of balance in this time. So I want you to lift that knee, tap your leg to the inner leg, shifting side to side. What we need to think about as well is pulling in your core, tightening up. All right, very good. All right, so we're going to be switching it up. We're still going to do another heart happy exercise. We're going to focus on our upper body this time. So what I want you to do is this. We're going to take one foot slightly in front of the other, bend the knees, and we're going to be doing some punches. So bring your hands into a fist. We're going to be crossing the body. Now, if you have osteoporosis, make sure the front of your torso is facing the front of the room. Otherwise, you can add a little bit of a twist, bending into those knees. So going a little bit lower, and join me now, punching side to side. Listen to your body, listen to those arms and shoulders. Punching a little bit lower will be better for the shoulders if you do have a past injury. All right, good, let's keep going nice and strong. All right, awesome work, you got this. Good, another 10 seconds. Awesome work. You feel that heart working? Good, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, stepping side to side, lifting that knee, finding that balance. All right, good job. All right. Good, we're going to go back into another round of this, and we're going to change the legs. Opposite leg is in front, opposite leg is back. Just so you know, we're about as wide as this. Bending into the knees, hold on to those non-weights. Hands are in a ball, and we're going to add that punch side to side. 30 seconds, nice and strong. So this type of workout is really great, especially if you do not have any equipment. You're noticing we don't need equipment to get a full body workout in, to get that heart rate up. And for those of you who are thinking about traveling, this is also really easy to fit in when you travel, because often HIIT workouts are a little bit shorter than the typical 45-minute or hour workout. You can do 20 minutes, you can do 30 minutes, and really burn lots of calories and feel really good. Last 3, 2, and 1. Good. All right, taking our side step, lifting that knee, working on balance, breathing in and out. All right, awesome, awesome. So just got a few more here, a few more. Let's do 3, and 2, and 1. All right, the next one we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding in a kick. Option 1, focusing just on the legs. I'll show you from the side. You can choose to kick low. You can choose to kick a little bit higher. And what I find is the best way to do this is reaching with the opposite arm. This will help to keep you balanced. All right, so come join me. Again, we've got our 30 seconds. Let's add that kick. Reaching or add that intensity and add a punch. Keep on breathing as we go, shoulders back. Good, let's punch like you mean it. All right, awesome. So 30 seconds, getting that heart rate up. Halfway there. All right, we've got 5 more seconds. Keep it strong. 3, 2, and 1. Good, side to side, reaching, stretching, tapping the toe, or lifting the leg if you want to work on that balance again. All right, nicely done. All right, good, good. So we're almost done our workout. We are going to do one more. We're going to go back to that jumping jack tap. I know that's one of my favorites. And what I encourage you to do is to write down what are some new cardio moves that I can do. And just remember that even doing 5 minutes, even doing 10 minutes at a time is really good for your heart. And it can really be a good way to start building these healthy habits. And then another time to exercise is before you go out to do things like shoveling, or maybe you're into cross-country skiing, or you want to go for a hike or a walk out in the snow. It's important to warm up that body before we get out. Alrighty, so here we go. Last one now. We're going to do our jumping jack taps. Reaching those arms overhead, stepping side to side. 30 seconds. Let's get that heart rate up. You also have the option to reach the arms to the side. All right, here we go. So give it all you got. This is our last one. Already halfway there. Awesome job. You got this. 10 seconds. And 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, good. Keep stepping side to side and we'll circle the shoulders back. So want to gradually bring that heart rate back down. All right. Good. So I'd love to hear how you guys are feeling. So as we're finishing up, we'll do just a few stretches and then we'll be moving over to Natasha's presentation shortly. And I do encourage you to let me know how you felt about this workout today. How are you feeling? How are you feeling? Did you feel like your heart rate was going up? Is this something that you can see yourself doing at home as well? I really do find that working with the 30 seconds does make the workout go by a lot faster. And it's a really good way to stay focused as you work out too. All right, good. Now we're going to move to some stretches. Let's take one leg back, tap that toe, and take your heel to the floor, bending into your front knee. We're going to reach the arms in front, squeeze your shoulder blades back. So we're going to reach, feeling this in the back of the leg, and then working on our posture. Breathing in and out. All right, good. 2 more reaches. And 1. All right, step forward and then we'll step back with the other leg. Toe and then heel, press your heel into the floor. And same thing, squeezing back. Inhale and exhale. All right, great job everyone. That was fun. Hope you're feeling great. 2 more squeezes. And 1. All right, and then we're going to take some deep breaths here. Legs nice and wide again. Arms wide, looking up, inhale, and exhale. Give yourself a hug, look down. Now you can choose to keep your back straight. Do this if you have osteoporosis, or as you look down, you can round your back. Inhale and exhale. 1 more time. All right, give yourselves a big pat on your back. That was awesome. I recommend getting some water, and have a sip of water as we move on to our second half of the presentation. So, and like I said, let me know in the chat how you're feeling. All right. Do we have Natasha here?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you.
Natasha.
Hello.
Hello. Awesome. All right, I see a few comments. All right, and Michael has a good question. So what we'll do is we're going to do some questions at the end. So if you do have any questions, I'll be moderating the chat. So at the end, we'll take some time to answer questions because I see we've got a good one already. All right. Awesome. I'm glad people are feeling great. That's great. All right. So Natasha, I want to introduce you. I'll let you introduce yourself a little bit, but Natasha and I connected, oh my goodness, a long time ago initially, many years ago when I was first starting my business in 2013, I believe. And you've been with the Ottawa Heart Institute for a long time now, and I've done some training with them all about Heartwise. So I'm sure if any of you watching today have taken some kind of City of Ottawa program, you may recognize the symbol, which indicates that it's a Heartwise, a heart healthy fitness program. So yeah, so Natasha, I'll let you introduce yourself and start your presentation. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, I'm grateful that I can be here live. It's a little more interactive for everyone. I'll just confirm I have about 30 minutes or 25 and some questions. Perfect. Okay. So hello, everyone. I'm just going to set up my PowerPoint here. All right, let me know which display you're seeing, the slideshow or the notes.
I'm seeing the slideshow, but also the what's coming up next.
Okay, and what about now?
There we go. Yeah, that looks good.
Perfect. Okay, well, hello everyone. I'm Natasha, as Meg introduced. I've been working at the Heart Institute for about 5 or 6 years now, working for the program Heartwise Exercise. I'm the program coordinator. And for those of you who have not heard of the program, I'll go into a few details about it at the end, although very likely if you've been in the Ottawa area for a while, you've interacted probably one way or another with the classes and the programming that we're offering in the community. So it is sort of a transition program to community exercise for those who have had a heart incident or any chronic disease and or others who just are finding really great exercise options that are already happening in the community. So I'm here today to talk a little bit about cardiovascular disease, some of the main risk factors, some tips and tricks from the Heart Institute in terms of managing some of those risk factors, and then focus a little bit on women's heart health today. It is Women's Heart Health Month. So there's a lot of information shared in the month of February about women's heart health specifically and how that differs a little bit from what we know about other, cardiovascular disease in general. And then I'll go into a little bit about Heartwise Exercise. As Meg said, if you can put any questions in the chat, we'll do a Q&A at the end. That's a little bit easier always to manage. So we'll get started. There we go. So a little bit on the agenda, which I just went over today. So I'm sure everyone here has heard sort of in one way or another about cardiovascular disease. It is quite prevalent in Canada and around the world in terms of a disease. So also known sometimes as heart disease. It's a general term for a variety of conditions that affect the heart and the blood vessels. So it's a chronic disease that can lead to a heart attack and even death depending on the severity. And so heart disease or cardiovascular disease is really the second leading cause of death in Canada and then the first worldwide. So it's important to talk about, to understand a little bit about risk factors, some of them which we cannot control and some that we can. And so we'll go into some of those details later. And so the most common form of heart disease is coronary artery disease, which again might be ringing some bells for those of you who have some background or have heard of these types of things before. And coronary artery disease is the result of atherosclerosis. I always struggle with that word, which is referred to as the hardening or narrowing of the arteries due to plaque buildup. And so this can be a combination of genetic risk factors and lifestyle factors. So we're going to focus today a little bit on some of the lifestyle factors, or factors that you can control to manage your risk. And although the exact process that causes this isn't necessarily known, over time, unhealthy behaviors can contribute to this development of plaque and damage within the artery walls, which then eventually can lead to cardiovascular disease. So the identification of risk factors is important. They can present as early as age 20, so it starts fairly young. Most Canadians do have at least one risk factor for cardiovascular disease, and reducing risk factors before the first heart attack or stroke can actually prevent or postpone up to 33% of all deaths. So it's really important to understand them, and it's really never too late to start thinking about risk factors or managing them. The fact that you're all here doing exercise is a really great sign, because one of the risk factors is physical inactivity, as I'll get into later. So it's great to see everybody here exercising, being active, and sort of joining Meg in one way or another. So that's great to see. If we look a little bit specifically about women's heart health, so as I mentioned, heart disease was really originally considered to be a man's disease, just because of the nature of the research that was being conducted originally was oftentimes with male patients or participants, and didn't really focus on including women or understanding the difference between how men and women experience different heart disease and the variety of conditions. And heart disease is actually the #1 killer of women worldwide and affects women of all ages. So I'll go into that a little bit. It's not just later in life that heart disease can impact women, but there's a lot of association between heart disease and pregnancy, and conditions that start earlier on in life. And so in terms of statistics, 1 in 3 women are affected by heart disease. And oftentimes this does have to do a little bit with the reproductive system, cardiovascular system. And those two are the two systems that really have the most sex-based differences that weren't really being captured in research that was previously done. So there's being more and more work done to look at how those might differ. And so I'll go into a little bit of that today. It's always an interesting topic, because it's getting more and more shared, I would say, amongst individuals like yourself looking for more information, healthcare providers, etc. But there is a difference, and it is important to go over that in terms of how heart disease is treated, how it's recognized, etc. And so this is a little bit of a detail, some of the information that I just went into, but I really want to speak a bit about the different symptoms that women might experience when they are having a heart attack or any kind of heart disease that are often not necessarily associated with the traditional symptoms that we've been told of a heart attack: chest pain, pain radiating down the arm. So we'll go into that, because I think it's quite important to review the distinctions so that everyone can be empowered to notice those changes. What I really also want to highlight is that the traditional measures of risk for heart disease really underestimate the danger for women. So while men and women share most of the same traditional risk factors that we'll go into in a little bit, some of the risk factors actually carry a stronger relative risk in women. So that would be, some information or statistics that didn't really come out in research that wasn't comparing or looking at sex-based differences for heart disease. So smoking, diabetes, high blood pressure, and a family history of heart disease have been found to be red flags or have higher risk in women than in men for leading to heart disease.
They're better. They're more expensive, though.
Sorry, I'm not sure if that comment was for me. Okay. So this is what I was mentioning a little bit earlier. I won't go too much into the specifics of heart disease necessarily across the entire lifespan. I will share with Meg after some of the resources from the Heart Institute, so that if anyone has an additional interest in pursuing a bit more of this information, you can go and look. The Canadian Women Heart Alliance has a really great website with a lot of this information, so I'll share it with Meg afterwards. But just to say, as I mentioned, it's not just heart disease that is occurring later in life. It really can affect women at all ages. So in adolescence, young as a young adult, especially during pregnancy, and then postmenopausal is when we see a higher risk of heart disease, but it does occur, before the age of 45. And so this is what I was mentioning earlier. So symptoms of heart disease for women. So oftentimes we have the common symptoms that are fairly well known that might signify heart disease or the onset of a heart attack. So things like chest pain or discomfort, having that pain radiating from chest to neck, as I mentioned, stomach pain or discomfort or feelings of indigestion, sometimes shortness of breath, feeling fatigued, dizziness or lightheadedness, an irregular heartbeat, nausea and or vomiting, etc. So those are some of the more common symptoms that are a bit more well known. If we look into the uncommon symptoms, and oftentimes ones that women do experience more than men, we see things like pain in the jaw, neck, shoulders, arms, back, or stomach. So it's a little bit more global than just the pain radiating down the arm, which is something I'm sure that most people have heard. Also, a common symptom that women do experience are flu-like symptoms, which sometimes can be dismissed or aren't always captured as heart disease. So it can be a little bit trickier to identify. Another one is a very sudden onset of generalized scared or feelings of anxiety. So an onset of that's sort of a little bit unexplained, sudden, and that can be one of the uncommon symptoms of heart disease or a heart attack. Generalized weakness, and then unusual sweating. So just this infographic I find really helpful just to identify and outline some of the factors that we might not be hearing about as regularly to identify heart disease. And it's an empowering way to advocate for yourself as a woman and go to your doctor if you are experiencing some of these symptoms or you don't feel like something is quite right, but just have information about it could be this. Of course, it's not always that you have flu-like symptoms that you have heart disease. I'm definitely not trying to say that, but there are some things to look out for that you might not have been aware about. So this is a really great handout to kind of just summarize some of the differences. As I mentioned, it is sort of the whole month of February is Heart Month, or often, I don't know if any of you have seen the hashtag around Her Heart Matters. And actually February 13th, which is coming up, is Wear Red Canada Day. So the Heart Institute and the Canadian Women's Heart Health Centre have put together sort of a campaign and just to promote this sharing of information about women's heart health. And I thought I'd do a little share of it with you, since if you want to join in and wear red on the 13th of February, you're more than welcome. There's some initiatives as well online if you are looking for more information about that. And I'll definitely share this with Meg as well after the presentation to share with everyone. But I thought it's a good opportunity to tie that in today since it's coming up on this weekend. So I want to get a little bit into the risk factors. So I mentioned there are some risk factors like genetics, even sex that we can't control, but there are some lifestyle risk factors that I'm sure people have heard of that are within our control that we can look to maybe modify or try to change to reduce our risk of heart disease. So the first one is smoking. There's plenty of information showcasing the dangers of smoking. But what is less known perhaps is that even by quitting, the risk of having a heart attack and a stroke is greatly diminished. And even for an individual that's been smoking for 5 or more years, who might feel hopeless to, make that change because it is quite challenging, they might feel that the damage is already done and that, there's no point in stopping. But there's some interesting statistics that I wanted to share with the group. If you are in that camp of maybe being motivated or looking to make this kind of change, that even just 2 days after you've stopped smoking, you have this increase in your sense of taste and sense of smell. 6 months after stopping smoking, coughing, fatigue, shortness of breath, and congestion can all decrease. And a year after stopping smoking, your risk of a heart attack decreases by up to 50%. So all to say that although it can be quite difficult to initiate this process, there are very quick benefits that you see, and then over the long term, you really can see some changes in terms of reducing risk for heart disease, improving some of the physiological aspects that usually that deteriorate with smoking. This can always be helpful as a little bit of a motivator, because sometimes it's harder to see the bigger picture. There's also really great programming through the Heart Institute if this applies to you and it's something that you've maybe been thinking about quitting smoking. There is a quit smoking and a really big smoking cessation sort of, I don't want to say department, but I guess program that is happening at the University of Ottawa Heart Institute. I put the number on the screen for in terms of information about this program and what it might look like. And they're really great at coaching you through and tailoring sort of programming to the individual to help them with their journey for quitting smoking. So I thought I'd share that with everyone because it's a really great resource. The next lifestyle or risk factor that is important to consider is nutrition. So you've all heard that, you know, having a healthy diet is really a key part of healthy aging and reducing risk for not only heart disease, but a variety of chronic diseases. If we look specifically to cardiovascular disease, you know, food that is high in blood fats like cholesterol or triglycerides can is negatively correlated or has a higher risk than of heart attack or heart disease. Increasing sodium or having a high sodium intake often is linked to high blood pressure, which then is a risk factor for cardiovascular disease as well. And diabetes is often linked, typically having one chronic condition can be linked to having multiple chronic conditions. So if your diet is influencing or you have diabetes, that might you know, lead or be linked to having heart disease as well at some point. So it's important to just consider how nutrition plays a role. This is a really nice infographic that the Heart Institute put out a few years ago. So the top 10 tips for healthy eating. For the sake of time, I won't go through all of the 10 tips out loud, but you can take a second to read through some of them. So cooking at home, how you eat is as important as what you eat. So I think that's always an interesting one, to enjoy your meals without multitasking. So sometimes if we're sitting and watching TV while we eat, we might eat more than we anticipated. But, you know, carving out times for meals where you're just sitting, enjoying a meal with family or friends, or just kind of focusing on that one thing at a time versus doing many things while you eat can be a way to improve eating habits. Trying to eat at regular times, planning healthy snacks, including a variety of foods in your diet, all really great tips to sort of kickstart that process or improve how you're eating. Next factor, which I think is probably one of the ones that's up there in terms of being discussed as linked to heart disease, is stress. So the relationship between stress and heart disease and stroke isn't necessarily completely clear, but you know, if we have high levels of stress, we often have higher concentration of stress hormones in the body, which can lead to some of the processes that lead to heart disease. So increased blood pressure due to high cortisol levels because of stress might be then impacting our arteries and causing this narrowing and plaque buildup in our arteries. So it's important to consider how the link between being very stressed and heart disease and trying to manage that. It's not always the easiest thing to reduce our stress, but being aware and focusing on strategies that we can use to sort of regulate that, it's really, really important. Especially when stress becomes chronic. So if we're stressed for one moment or in time or one day, it's a little bit less impactful. But when we have this prolonged chronic stress, you're really exposing your body to these unhealthy, persistently elevated levels of stress hormones, which can then lead to some of these physiological processes, but also can impact mental health, which if we look at next, both anxiety and depression are also risk factors for cardiovascular disease. And this can be due to a few different sort of pathways or routes. So I'll share with you this diagram here. So, you know, sometimes if we're experiencing stress, anxiety, or depression, these are psychological symptoms, but they can have real physical effects on your body. So you might start smoking or overeating because of these feelings, which then can increase your blood pressure and make your heart work harder. You again might have these increased stress hormones due to challenges with your mental health, which then is increasing your risk of blood clotting, can cause problems with blood vessels, the blood vessels inner lining, and all of these are factors that play into heart disease. So there is this link between taking care of your mental health, the effects that can have on your physical health, and so on. And so it's an important thing to consider. If we look at decreasing our stress, for those stress hormones, being physically active every day is a really great strategy to overcome that. So everyone here is doing a great job in that regard. If we're having anxiety, learning relaxation skills, so practicing mindfulness, meditation, and trying to manage those aspects can be really helpful. For experiencing depression, it might be about, talking through, sharing fears and worries with someone, whether that's a professional or someone in your life that you trust that you can speak to. There's a variety of coping strategies that can be used to mitigate this risk factor and to help manage your mental health, because we do see in the research that it does have an impact on heart disease and a variety of other chronic conditions. They're very often linked and can't necessarily be separated. Nope. And then the big one really is physical inactivity. So leading a sedentary or an inactive lifestyle is one of the top risk factors for heart disease. Everyone here, I'm sure, is aware that regular exercise, especially aerobic, has many benefits for our hearts. You can strengthen your cardiovascular system, you're improving your circulation, increasing your energy levels, etc. There's many benefits to exercise, which I'm sure all of you are experiencing after your nice workout before this, especially when we have a continued conscious effort to be physically active. And so risk factors, not only for cardiovascular disease, it's not only a risk factor for cardiovascular disease to be physically inactive, but also for hypertension, so high blood pressure, stroke, type 2 diabetes, obesity, etc. So it's really a risk factor that goes across the board for a variety of chronic conditions. And it's very similar in terms of risk to some of the ones I spoke about today. So smoking, high blood pressure, elevated cholesterol, etc. And based on the guidelines, about 65% of Canadians are considered to be not active. And so that's quite a high number, considering this is one of the top risk factors or leading to the development of cardiovascular disease. And just to really highlight that some physical activity is always better than nothing. So it doesn't have to be a perfect approach. It's not realistic always to do the guidelines or to reach those guidelines exactly, but some is better than nothing. Even the research has shown that exercising in bouts of 10 minutes built up over a day to reach the 30-minute or hour, 30 to 60 minutes that's recommended daily is better than deciding you're not going to do any, because you can't do 60 minutes continuously. So there are strategies to overcome that. And just to highlight that it doesn't always have to be done in the exact way that it's prescribed or promoted. So with that, I'm going to get a little bit into Heartwise Exercise and the link between our programming and what we offer, and then how it sort of links into this presentation. So Heartwise Exercise, as I mentioned, was developed in 2007 at the Heart Institute, and it came out of a need for people who had graduated the outpatient cardiac rehabilitation programming, where they're coming into the Heart Institute, they're exercising on site with nurse, physiotherapists, exercise physiologists, and sort of a team around them. And there was a sense of safety and security within that environment. And then oftentimes when it came the time that their program was being completed, they'd be asked, okay, what are your plans for exercise in the community? Because, just doing the 12 weeks of rehab isn't enough. The goal is to transition people into lifelong exercisers, especially after they've had any kind of heart event. So oftentimes the concerns were individuals weren't ready to go and exercise in the community, going from such a monitored setting to a class. Even if it was safe and they were ready to do so, there was still a bit of apprehension or fear. So Heartwise Exercise was sort of developed to fill that gap. And so what we do with the program is we'll identify suitable exercise options. So Meg is a great example. She was already up and running her programming, and we knew it was great. So we worked with her to then provide the comfort for those looking for classes with designated partners that have our logo that say, hey, this partner did our training. They understand how to work with individuals with chronic conditions. They feel comfortable providing exercise options that are suitable. And then in turn, the people participating in the class feel comfortable knowing that they're affiliated with the Heart Institute, that they're offering programming that goes through our 6 criteria, which I'll highlight briefly. And so that was the origin to fill this gap. And it's really just grown over the last, I guess, 13, 14 years. And so the goal really is, we know that community exercise programs such as the one that you're participating in with AIM Fitness can lower your cardiovascular disease risk, provides a safe environment for exercise, enables social connections, a little bit harder with the pandemic over Zoom, but I'm sure everyone's managing and everyone's here today. It also is a way to facilitate self-management of your condition. So being empowered to go and be active and to reduce some of those lifestyle risk factors that I spoke of. And then oftentimes community exercise programs have been shown to promote long-term exercise engagement, which really is the goal, to be a lifelong exerciser. So these are the criteria. So any Heartwise class is going to follow these criteria. We go through and work with our partners that are oftentimes already doing this without our guidance. So there'll be the partner or provider will be encouraging daily regular aerobic exercise, whether that's in the class or encouraging people to continue to do aerobic exercises on the days they're not joining a partner for class, but really just having that reminder that it's important to do something every day. Having a warm-up, cool down, and then providing tips for self-monitoring with all exercise sessions. A Heartwise class will allow participants to exercise at a safe level and then offer options to modify intensity. So understanding that not everyone is going to be working at the same level and having a variety of options to capture that. Includes participants with chronic health conditions. This might seem sort of, it should be intuitive that that's the goal of the programming, but there was some hesitation from a partner perspective, feeling they didn't have knowledge to have individuals with chronic conditions in their classes. So we really wanted to break down that barrier by providing training to providers so that all participants with chronic conditions would be welcome in Heartwise classes. A Heartwise class will offer health screening for all participants. This can be formal or informal. So it can just be as a screen at the beginning. How's everyone feeling today? If there's anything new with your health that has come up, you can let us know, or it can be a very formal health screening questionnaire. So it's really, we leave that up to the individual partners to decide. And then finally, we have a documented, each facility will have a documented emergency plan that's known to all the exercise leaders who are leading Heartwise classes, and including the requirement of current CPR, phone access to local paramedic services, and then the presence of an AED, of course, not possible over Zoom, but when occurring in person. And so these are our criteria. So if you ever see our logo and another class that isn't Meg's, but it includes Meg's class as well, that's sort of the backbone of what's being provided. And then that can be across a variety of exercise modalities. So cardio, strength, yoga, personal training, etc. And for the sake of time, I want to leave some time for questions. I can see there's a few in the chat. I'm just going to go to my last slide here. So on our website, heartwise.ottawaheart.ca, you can find all of our locations. So if you're looking to add more exercise classes to your roster, you would be able to find different options in the area. We have a bunch of different locations in Ottawa and in Ontario, and we're extending a little bit out to other provinces, although it's fairly concentrated in Ontario. So you can take a look at our website. There's a lot of resources on there for participants, for providers, etc. And then I have the email here. I want to thank everyone for listening.